Welcome in Sunday Night Roundtable featuring Robert Greenlaw, Justin Graver, Ryan Watson, and Mike Herndon. We are all brought to you by Fox's bonus coverage of the Kansas City Chiefs. If you did not know, Fox wanted you to know at the end of our game, they were going to take you to see the Kansas City Chiefs as soon as Nick Foles got tired of playing like shit. Actually, we're brought to you by BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Really appreciate you tuning in. Again, there is bonus coverage of Kansas City on Fox if they didn't tell you 80 times at the end of the game. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Titans, who are 6-2 after a 24-17 win over the absolute crap Chicago Bears and are now in sole first place, because the Colts also suck and they lost. Gentlemen, how are we?
Pretty good after all that.
Excellent.
Did I just take the wind out of everyone's sails?
No, sir, you did not.
Listen, if you don't know, Fox's bonus coverage.
I think it's
Fox
still
Fox was like, don't worry, we are going to show you actual quarterbacks today.
All right, boys, how are we? Titans won. The Titans defense actually looks like they have a life now.
Well, yeah, here's the thing is, like, I know that it's easy to say that, well, the Titans were playing a bad offense, but that's fine, because how would this mood be right now for all Titans fans and for this room if the Titans defense had looked bad against this offense? So, I mean, let's take the wins where we can get them. They looked active. They looked like they were trying to take their chances where they could. I was happy with the effort and the performance today, especially out of the new guys on the front. I thought it was a good day all around for them.
Yeah, same. I kind of felt like this was a get-right game, and it needed to be a get-right game for them if they were going to have any hope of kind of being a decent defense the rest of the way. And it was. I mean, they rose to the level of expectation, maybe even a little bit beyond. I mean, ultimately, heading into the garbage time, the Titans defense had scored 7 points and allowed 3. So, it's hard to be upset about that kind of performance. So
I think this really separates this game. Both of these teams were coming into this game could have been considered pretenders based on how the Titans play the last few weeks and how they played on defense all season. But you could really tell the difference between these two teams. Even though Ryan Tannehill struggled for a lot of individual plays, he made enough overall to lead the Titans to win and prove that they really were the better team in this game. And that's why, 24-10 was a much more indicative score. They gave up a touchdown at the end there, but those 15 yards of penalties on questionable calls for unnecessary roughness.
Yeah, what do they want Hooker to do there? I mean, he leads with his shoulder going into the midsection of the receiver, and he dislodges the ball. I mean, it looked like he did everything he could not to be a penalty there.
yeah, those 2 calls on that drive I thought were complete nonsense,
Garbage.
Absolutely terrible.
Garbage calls.
The refs got bored and wanted to throw laundry. I really don't know any other justification for the calls towards the end of that game.
My thought was maybe they're trying to tell everyone that the game's over, ease up. You don't have to go 150% anymore defense. But I don't know if you expect an NFL team to do that in a game where they're trying to win after a 2-game losing streak. So
I hate to disappoint you all, but Fox's bonus coverage of Kansas City and Carolina is now over because Carolina's kicker cannot hit a long field goal. So very disappointing there for Fox.
67-yarder though.
Bonus coverage. Brought to you by bonus coverage of Fox's game in Kansas City, brought to you by Kansas City. So I wanted to throw this out there. Bears offense is bad. Nick Foles is very bad. So was the Titans defense that good today, or was it just that the Bears offense was mega crap?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, ultimately the Titans defense played well. I thought Desmond King played well. I thought Malcolm Butler played really well.
Yeah.
I thought even Breon Borders played well, considering, kind of where he was coming from. I thought he was in good positions. He made good tackles when he was called upon. He kind of did the baseline stuff that you would want your cornerbacks to do. So, and they got some pressure too. I mean, they really played, I thought, a complete defensive game. Now, banged up offensive line, terrible quarterback. So, yeah, it's that should be the result you get. But I mean, I thought it was a good showing. I mean, we'll see if we can stack it against shaky Colts offense here on Thursday. But it's a confidence builder, I think, is what you should probably describe it as.
I can't wait for the All-22 to come out because I think Daquan Jones had a fantastic game today. At least from what I saw, from what you can see from the broadcast, he looked like he was really doing some work in there. Simmons, I mean, it should just be a standard. Simmons was a monster because that's just what he does. So the interior defensive line was really good. You could expect that. But what I really liked was the new guys on the edges coming in, Robertson, really affecting Landry, had a really good day, affecting Foles as well. That's the thing is like last week with a bad team or a 1-5-1 Cincinnati Bengals, can't give him hope. It's the same thing with Foles. I mean, he can get hot. He's shown in his career. And he hit some deep passes today, and he can make those throws. So you can't give him a chance to get going. And he got going a little too late for the Bears, and the Titans did a good job of stymieing that for this defense. So I was actually proud of their effort today.
It was refreshing to see after last week. I mean, Burrow is a much better quarterback than Nick Foles is, but it was refreshing to see the difference between the two since we didn't have a sack, or the Titans didn't have a sack a week ago.
Right, and they, the third downs, 3 of 15 Chicago on third downs, and a lot of that, I mean, not a lot of it, some of it, I guess, was helped by Matt Nagy's play calling with the running plays up the middle with your third-string center, backup left guard, backup right guard, or I guess Ifedi was out there, but backup tackles, running up the middle against Simmons and Jones, who just were not having any of that on those third and shorts that they kept trying. But the Bears did go 3 of 4 on fourth down. Of course, one of those was the fake punt, which was their longest run of the day, I think, for maybe by the end of the day.
At least 3 quarters. It was at least 3 quarters of the longest play.
Yeah, Mingo was the leading rusher on their team at least through halftime.
Titans had the pressure and a little bit of the feasting on that beat up offensive line that we assumed the Titans were going to have last week. Any of that a surprise considering that we jettisoned Vic Beasley out of the airlock and then Clowney didn't practice all week and ultimately didn't play?
Young guys are hyped up to play. I mean, it was a good result, I think, and it helps that they did have some backups they're going against and former defensive end out there at tackle, I think. So it's kind of a good mixture of right timing for this defense to really show out and really get after. Because that's the thing is they just said, well, we're going to do one thing, but they did a good job of keeping the Bears in manageable. Plus, Foles isn't as mobile as some of these other quarterbacks they've had to face, so they knew they could really pin their ears back, for lack of a better term, and get after him. So I think it's just a great combination for this week to see all this kind of come together for them.
Agreed.
And Harold Landry, I thought, had one of his best games. He was very disruptive. He was all over the place. And let me also say, Tyre Tart had some very eye-popping plays. He was in the backfield frequently. He made some big-time penetrations. I mean, first game, I was very impressed by him. So I'm interested to kind of study what he did more granularly once the All-22 comes out and everything. But at least for making pop plays, Tyre Tart made some pop plays, which was very interesting for an undrafted rookie at a FIU.
That 4th and 1 was one that was he really shot back through there over the guard and allowed a lane for everyone else to the floods to come in and make the tackle for the loss. I was just really proud because for weeks in my article I've been saying that there's just such a significant drop off when you go from Jones and Simmons to anybody else. Crawford was pretty good today. Murchison made some plays. Like you just said, Tart was noticeable on plays. So that was really positive as well to see the backups actually contributing at the same level.
So let's have a Jeffrey Simmons appreciation time. As I tweeted out, I want Jeffrey Simmons to have all the nice things for Christmas. I want him to circle everything he wants in the Sears catalog. That man is near and dear to my heart now. And is playing like an absolute monster. Who wants to go first? Lavish the praise on the man.
Sears catalog.
He's, like you said, just a monster. And I really thought he had that interception on that diving play that Harold Landry tipped the ball, I think on the 3rd and goal down there. And he almost hauled in an interception, but that just shows his incredible athleticism for his size and the position he plays. He's in the backfield all day. He read that screen all the way. I was actually, for some random reason, I was just watching Simmons on that play, the play when he forced the fumble that Desmond King picked up in return, and he saw the screen developing all the way, found Montgomery, and not only went for the tackle, but put his hand in the perfect spot to strip the ball. And man, what a huge play. That momentum swinger. I mean, that kind of almost made it feel like the Titans were going to win the game from there, no matter what else happened, because it just felt like the defense was rolling. And Simmons, I mean, huge, the best player on the team, I think,
That's what Braden Gall said. I was just going to say that. I mean, can you really? I mean, there's an argument at the very least. I mean, I think some other person said Derrick Henry, but here's the thing: Simmons just looks so good. Everything he does, the double teams he takes on, that he just throws people to the side. He toys with people. I've seen it before. It's Reggie White level, just how he throws people around, and it's good to see. And the athleticism, how smooth was that fumble recovery? He just, as he's diving to the ground, just reaches up and scoop it. How many times do you see a big man who's going for a fumble recovery just botch that, and then it squirts out, and the other team recovers it for like a gain or something? He just, as he's going to the ground, just scoops it up softly like a little baby bird and protects it. It was just fantastic.
And honestly, like they say, fumbling or recovering a fumble is a 50-50 proposition, and like over time, I'm sure it is. But look at Simmons. He has not been in the NFL that long, starting midway through the year last year. And he has, I don't know how many fumble recoveries, I haven't looked it up, but off the top of my head, I can think of at least 3. The Ravens game in the playoffs last year. He has a knack for finding the ball when it's loose. He's aware, and he's athletic, and he's got good hand-eye coordination. He is a great fumble recoverer, which I really do think is a skill.
Oh, man.
And listen, my high school coach always said, when you hustle to the ball, good things happen. And that's exactly what Simmons does. He is playing 100% all the time. Every time he steps foot between the lines, he is going as hard as he can. And when you do that, good things happen.
He is full on wound up when he plays. And I really like to say that. I'm sorry, I got distracted. Kyler Murray's running with the ball, and it's kind of adorable. Sorry, that bonus coverage was brought to you by me. Someone has put into the chat, tart like a Smartie. Just want to throw that in Graver's face. Smarties are crap.
I mean, tart's way better than a Smartie.
Yeah, I guess. Hold on.
I mean, today at least.
In 3 plays, he's better than a Smartie.
But no, in all seriousness, Simmons just has a motor. He just goes to the ball, and yeah, that leaping where he almost had the interception. I mean, a big man should not be jumping and trying to make a grab like that. And I really thought he had it. It looked like a gigantic ass tight end trying to go up for the ball. I want to switch to the offensive side of the ball for a moment, because they started off pretty rough. And even though they got it together later in the game, stacking up those 3 and outs, limited use of Derrick Henry. I kind of want to start there. Why the limited use of Derrick Henry?
It's kind of been a theme the last 2 weeks where they've worked Foreman in a little bit, and giving him some series. But it's not just that; it's the play calling as well. And I think we talked about on the halftime show of this is, if you saw this game on paper beforehand, you were hoping that this Titans offense would run the ball a little bit, like shade towards running the ball, for a couple of reasons. A, because that's where the Bears have been a little susceptible, if anywhere, and also it just tires that defense out, so maybe you can make your splash plays. And just early, I think the ratio was very highly towards the pass. Tannehill was a little off. He continues. I was worried that he was continuing his regression. Now he kind of made up for that with that awesome throw to AJ Brown. So now I'm a little bit more. He made some great throws in the second half, so I'm a little bit more to he's back on track. But it's just one of those things where you would like to see Henry get fed a little more. But we got to keep remembering Henry starts slow. He's always been a slow starter. He never busts these big, long runs out early, or hardly does. So it's just, you've got to stick with it if you're going to. And I think the Titans didn't, because of play calling, and they forced their hands to do that by how the plays went, being in third and unmanageable. They couldn't really run him as much.
I don't know that I'm worried about Henry necessarily. This is a tough Bears defense, and for most of this game, the Titans were playing with Ty Sambrailo and Jamil Douglas on the left side of the offensive line.
Yeah.
So that's going to be tough, especially against the Bears, and it's going to be tough against the Colts too if Saffold can't play. So obviously shoulder injury for Saffold. He didn't come back. Vrabel, of course, did not offer any voluntary update after the game. So very shockingly. But, I think you very much need Saffold to get healthy, because frankly, he was playing as their best offensive lineman for most of this year, in my opinion. And that's especially critical with Lewan out. I mean, you don't want to have your best and second best offensive lineman out of the game.
Hey, Nate Davis would like a word.
Nate Davis has played extremely well. You won't find a bigger Nate Davis fan than me right now. We'll fight over it. Ryan.
All right. Well, you bring up a good point about Lawan being out as well, because you're already down to your second string left tackle, and he and Saffold have kind of get into a groove. Saffold's coming off probably his best game of the year versus the Bengals. He was a bully. He was a brute. He was great fun to watch. And it was more of the same in this game. And it just immediately when he goes out, you see Douglas gives up the sack right over the top to Urban and just bull rushes him and just pushes it out of the way. So really hoping for some good news there and that he's able to go, because with Sambrio's been great, but I really don't look forward to Douglas and Sambrio on the left side. Sambrelo, sorry.
Another thing to consider is they play again on Thursday, so that's a reason to keep Henry's carries down and not bring Saffold back into a game that you're already winning, even if he maybe could have played through it. Saffold's a tough guy, you know. He plays through lots of pain every week, I think. So I think that we'll see, obviously, how if he's practicing this week, but you probably don't practice because, again, they play on Thursday. So keeping everyone's reps down is ideal. And honestly, it's crazy that, you know, they didn't even really need their closer, Derrick Henry, to close out the game, because the defense did its job and put them in a position where they didn't have to even when they ran the ball 3 times in a row and punted it with 2 minutes left or whatever, like it didn't feel like they were just giving up and punted. Like it felt like that was the right thing to do because Chicago had no chance on offense of moving.
Yeah. And just to address, because Shazam has a comment, and not that I disagree, because like if you're looking at the running backs, you would want Henry to take the ball, right? Let's just look at the scenario and the situation there. The Bears know that the Titans are going to be running the ball, right? So they're going to be keying on it. So the possibility of success of converting is lower. So Titans may be thinking, let's not risk on a short week any more nicks and bruises to Derrick Henry when we could really use him versus the Colts going forward. Sorry about that. And Foreman's been pretty good of late. Let's see if something can happen, but they're keying on the run anyway, because I guarantee you hindsight's 20/20 on everything. I know that. But if something were to happen to Henry on that last drive, you would have probably said, why wasn't Foreman just trying to run out the clock? Because there was no reason. So, I mean, it's kind of both sides. You play percentages and you try to go with the best decision and live with the results as a coach a lot of times. So we can nitpick and say, well, Henry would have been better. And I don't disagree with that. He would have been better probably. But I think the decision they made knowing it's a short week. So Justin made a great point there.
They also did a nice job, I thought, totally switching tracks on defense here in this game, because they were so shorthanded again on outside linebacker. You saw Jayon Brown and Rashaan Evans rushing a lot in this game, and Jayon Brown over that left guard especially. Oh my God, worked him a few times. I thought that was a really interesting personnel choice when, you know, the Rashaan hasn't been great in coverage, and he had a bad play in coverage on Darnell Mooney where he just didn't get his head around and allowed a completion downfield. But you use him as a pass rusher and you have no outside linebacker depth. I think that's a good use, a good future way to get him involved and use his athleticism to your advantage.
A couple of people pointed out that Vrabel said in his presser, post-game presser, that they were kind of looking to save Henry for the Colts. Makes perfect sense. Next 2 out of 3 are against the Colts. You would love to hammer it home, grab one of the 2 or possibly both. That makes sense. I mean, with a short week coming up, I want to throw this out there before I flip to the wide receivers. Someone had posted in the comment, I've lost it now, that Corey Davis had a couple of drops, which I think is a little unfair. He had 1 drop that I know of, but he had 1 that was defended really, really well against him.
Yeah.
There was 2 I think you could classify as drops, but 1 was a tough catch because Tannehill did throw it a little behind him or a little off target. And it wasn't especially it's a little disappointing after Corey Davis having the week that he did, you know, and was leading up to this. You don't like to see that, because if it's one of those things where if this offense could ever get going in a way, the running game is going to be there, but if this offense could ever get to the point where you've got Corey Davis and AJ Brown just making splash plays, they're going to be tough to stop, and they're going to be really fun to watch. So it seems like it's been one or the other, right? It hasn't been both at the same time, and it hasn't been both of them and then Jonnu, because Jonnu, I know he made a splash late, but after that last drive, if he doesn't do that, then Jonnu has a wasted day as well.
Oh, look at Boren coming in here. We got bonus Boren coverage brought to you by Fox. Thank you for joining, Boren. I don't know if he knows he's on camera yet or not. He's looking like he's
sorry. I was just hanging out here, and all of a sudden I'm here. I just don't know what's going on.
You look like
the hand signals.
If you
could
stream,
fly me in.
If you join the stream, you're going to be on camp. You're going to be on. That's how it goes.
We were just talking a little bit about the offense. The main discussion I want to get to is AJ Brown. What a fucking beast! The man is just an absolute beast. That leap for a touchdown with a defender draped all over him. And actually, I'm skipping the best part. Let me stop the touchdown for a second. the catch early in the first where he basically just did a stop and go and let the defenders run by him a couple of times. Just beautiful. I'm in love with the man. Between him and Simmons, I can't handle my emotions and feelings for this team.
Yeah, no, I think with I'll jump in because you guys have all been talking. I'll just take the spotlight here for a second. With AJ Brown, it's one of those that everything you described is true. The good news about him though is that he is definitely, there's still room for improvement. The first drive of the game, it's one of those where the first play of the game even he drops a pass that is maybe a little bit of a difficult pass, but if you want to be a true number one receiver, it's absolutely catchable. It's away from your body. You talked about Corey Davis a little bit. He seems to be the king of body catches and letting the ball get into his body. AJ Brown, as good as he is, there's still room for improvement, and that has to absolutely excite Titans fans moving forward because some of those things and the way that they have come to fruition. If you're already putting up 1,500 yards in your first 2 seasons, 1.5 seasons, and you still have very clear room for improvement, that's a good place to be.
And they could get him even more involved in the offense. I think he only had 4 catches today, so you could get him more involved in the offense, and that production's going to go way up. I mean, over 100 yards on 4 catches is phenomenal. And
Tannehill was only 10 for 21, so he only completed 10 passes. So the catches were down across the board. But I was pretty disappointed in Corey Davis, to be honest. As someone who has staunchly defended him his entire career in Tennessee, I thought he should have made every single one. The 3 big plays that he didn't make, I thought he should have made. The first pass was a little behind him, but it's a catch that you make if you want to get paid this offseason. The last one that he really let come into his body is when the quarterback only throws it 21 times and there's only 10 catches, there's only so much to go around.
But that's it, though. That's the reason that Corey Davis, even in a second contract, you have to be careful of what you pay for him because he is a great number 2 wide receiver. He's not going to be a number 1 because he's inconsistent, but he can still give you those plays like you saw last week with him diving. There are times that he'll get those hands away from his body and go make those catches, but it's not going to be consistent where you can rely on him. He's not Julio Jones. He's not that guy what you hope that AJ Brown is going to be. It's a great number 2 wide receiver. And so you have to be super cautious with him moving forward.
He could be an Odell Beckham, though. You said he's a number 2 receiver, right?
Well, he's still playing, so.
I'm just going to throw that out there a little bit. Tannehill, 10 for 21 on the day, 158 yards. I'll say this again. I'll throw it out there. I'm going to throw a little bit of Mariota shade. If you don't want to hear it, you're going to have to mute yourself for a second. But, if you need any more proof that Tannehill is the man going forward, he stands in the pocket. He accepts pressure. He didn't play that well today. It was a little low key, but it's still a hell of a lot better than we had, up until last year. So I love it. I'm fine with it.
Even what I'm calling possible regression or just saying it's just because he wasn't on the level that he was. But again, that was probably a little unsustainable, right? So, but he still does the things that the other quarterbacks in the past haven't. He stays in the pocket. He waits the last second to make his throws. He also is at least willing to take the risks and the chances, and he does. At least the ball is around the receiver, even if it is. We're complaining about a little up and to the left, right? Or we're just a little low, just a little outside. So it's not like it's hitting the ground 3 yards in front of him or sailing over his head on those plays. And he's hitting the wide open shots. He's making the big throws at least once a game. So he is doing a lot better. It is a lot better than what it was for sure.
So a little bit of a debate going on in our chat. Boren thinks that we can take nothing from this win, but aren't we first in the AFC? What?
I don't care. I don't care. You take nothing from this win whatsoever. I'm sorry. The best part. No. I see that finger going up. I get my 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Go ahead.
Moderator, please mute his mic. We saw this during the debate. Just take him out. Thank you. It's one of those where, yes, the defense played better. The offense, I can't say played better. Tannehill continues I don't want to say bad. He set that bar so high. I'll give him a little bit of a break there. He had the great pass to AJ Brown, but consistently it hasn't been there the last couple of weeks. But the defense, it's they have played some good football this game. but the Bears' offense is just atrocious, just absolutely terrible. So I mean, like, yeah, Des King played some good snaps in the slot, but they tried to take advantage of him, but they're so inept they can't take advantage of him because even the plays where Anthony Miller actually got some separation from him, Foles missed him by 3 feet on every single pass. So I don't know. I take absolutely nothing from this. Congratulations. You you beat a team that was a bigger fraud than you were in the games that you've been going forward with.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go win it. Go win it. Go beat the Colts in a division game, because guess what? You lose. I'm sorry. I'm not giving you 7 days. And then after losing to the Bengals, stop it. I'm not giving you 7 days after losing to a 1-win team and then saying, oh, everything's great. Because it's not. It's not. You beat a terrible Bears team that was looking to be exposed.
All the good teams have bad losses for the most part, right? I mean, the Chiefs lost to the Raiders. The Colts lost to the Jaguars. Those are bad losses.
1 win. 1 win. 1-win team.
Yeah, the Jaguars have 1 win.
Yeah, but Gardner Minshew was playing great early on. He got injured.
Hey. Joe Burrow was playing great last week.
He wasn't injured.
All right, so your 2 minutes is up. Please respond, Eugene.
So I think, like, in terms of what did we learn about this Titans team, sure, we learned nothing. But in terms of what they, as a team, take from this game, is agreed a win is a win in the National Football League. But that's not really what my point is. My point is, this was a great performance in certain areas where the Titans have struggled immensely in recent weeks, particularly third down defense, where they were able to hold, I already said the stat, 3 of 15 Chicago was on third down this game. The things you take from this game are building blocks that you move forward with, because you have a really turnaround for Thursday. So Desmond King, you correct whatever mistakes he may have made that we don't know yet because we haven't seen the all 22 footage and we don't know the play calls and everything, but they'll get him in there and be able to, get him even more up to speed in the defense. You hopefully get Clowney back. Hopefully, like, you were resting him today so that he can play on Thursday and not because he's going to have surgery and miss 5 weeks or something. And then Henry was, not used as much towards the end of the game, so you can keep him fresher for that Thursday game. So I think a lot of stuff that was done in this game was with Thursday in mind. So that's what you take from this game, is building off of what you did. A solid win that you can be proud of, even if it wasn't a completely dominant performance. You put up 17 points on offense against a good defense, and they didn't even touch the ball in the third quarter outside of one quick drive because the Bears possessed it for so long. They had a return touchdown on defense, and then the Bears drove all the way back down the field again. So, for a field goal, by the way. So, like, the offense was shaky, but you can build on this kind of performance in a short week.
We say it wasn't a totally dominant performance, but it was 24-3 in the fourth quarter, and the game was over. Everybody knew it was over, and that's for NFL standards against a team that is 5-3. I agree that the Bears are not that good, but against a team that is 5-3 because they have a really good defense, that was a pretty dominant win. I mean, I'd hate to give the Titans too much credit with Nick Foles and a terrible offensive line on the other side of the line of scrimmage, but that 24-3 is dominant. And sure, they gave up a couple of garbage time touchdowns, but
I will defend the Titans a little bit, because the longer the Bears had the ball on that drive, the longer I kept thinking this is a pick six or somehow the Titans are going to score. The longer the Bears offense has the ball here, the more dangerous the Titans become. Like, which that just is more of a testament to how terrible the Bears offense is.
Look, this also had a recipe before the game kicked off, with all the last minute scratches, with all the practice team players called up, with everything that's going on. If you had told me that halfway through the game, or not even before halfway through the game, the Saffold's going out and Douglas is going to have to play the remainder of the game, I'm telling you, I'm worried that the Bears are going to sneak away with this one based on everything that's going on. And with you're hoping that your savior in coverage is someone who just joined the team and hasn't had an official practice with you. I am proud of this team for at least coming out and playing up and playing excited to play football, especially after 2 losses in a row, because they very much could have been downtrodden. And then with all the other injuries and having to rely on, again, practice squad players to come in, it's positive there. And I will give them credit for that. And that's something you can build on when you start getting these other players back to kind of filter in. So again, this could have easily been a loss if they just would have played like they did against the Bengals, but they didn't.
I think you take two things out of this, and I'm sorry to be the guy who goes for the simple one first. The Titans only have 2 losses. They're 6-2, and they're first place in the AFC and the AFC South. I'll say that first. But number 2, even though Nick Foles and the Bears are just absolute pure shit on offense, the Titans defense got it together and showed some life and had a great game. You got to take that positive coming out of it. And if nothing else, for that squad to be able to come out of that game and say, okay, the last couple of games, this shit on third down, this just kind of coming apart in the secondary, we found a way to patch it up today. And I think that's a good thing going forward. It's a very good thing. I think this looks a lot different if the Titans are now 5-3 going to play the Colts and they're still tied. I think that starts to get under players' skin if you have 3 bad games in a row. I think this gives something to build on. So I'm going to be positive. I don't really give a shit if you don't want to be positive at all, Born. I'm going to be positive.
And let's be honest too. How many people thought that Wyatt Ray and Breon Borders were going to be starting on the Titans defense in the same game at all this season? I mean, this was in a guy that had just showed up on Saturday and had not even practiced once with the team. Those were 3 of the team's 5 or 11 starters. That's it's good to see them be able to pull guys in and get performances right away. I think, obviously you're hoping to not have to play those guys in such large roles moving forward, but I do think you just saw it like a little bit of an addition by subtraction. Beasley was not out there loafing around.
Yeah,
guys were flying to the ball. They were trying to make plays. So I don't know. I think there are some positives that you can take out of it, even if the Bears do suck.
Got a comment here. Dean Pease had a secret headset on while in the stadium, even though he completely said on Midday 180 this week that he was not coming out of retirement. Really like the fact that we're driving the narrative that he is possibly secretly calling plays.
Or maybe the guys just wanted to play really hard because they knew he was there watching. So they were like,
oh, hey, look at me. Don't come in here with all that shit. Max. I want wild, unsubstantiated rumors. Thank you for speaking. So I want to throw this out there. Gostowski went and did his job. He did his job today.
Hey,
he was tactless. That's the key.
Ryan Allen, the MVP holder, comes through again. Fixes Steven Gostkowski, booms some punts. I mean,
he did.
Let's be honest. Ryan Allen put on a show out there, just spraying balls all over the field, averaged over 50 yards a punt on 8 punts. And on the touchback, I honestly thought that was a Nick Westbrook problem, not a Ryan Allen problem for that not being down at the 1. So
I caught it. And damn.
Yeah, he's so used to trying to catch it running into the end zone, and he just defaulted to that. But so Ryan Allen, welcome to the team, man. That was phenomenal. And Matt Overton, clean snaps all game, and he had a lot of them. So
and he'll be gone on Thursday. Matt Overton will no longer be on the team on Thursday.
Right. Thank you for your service, Matt.
Matt, that was fun. You can leave. No, don't take any food. That's for the rest of the players. No, I'm proud of Gostowski for making the entire commute do his job without spilling coffee all over himself. Thank you for going out there and doing your job. It's really appreciated. Special shout out to the Fox coverage team, Dick Stockton and Greg Jennings, just pure shit. Can't pronounce names. One point they called Ferkser Fisker, like fucking cat food. I just don't understand how hard this is. Like, I get it. You have to learn players' names. You have to be able to quickly identify them by their jersey number. I don't pretend to think that that's easy to do, coming from a guy who misspells tweets and have to delete them all day. But at the same time, like, Fisker. God damn it. It drives me nuts when Fox gives us these – Fox especially. CBS is bad enough. Fox gives us bullshit-ass teams every time they have to call a game. There was one point where Jennings and Stockton just stopped talking in the middle of a drive. They just,
I felt like that was their best moment.
That was the best drive. Yeah, that was the best drive.
Stockton was calling first downs with guys running out, 3 yards the marker. He was like, that's a first down right there.
or maybe he got 4 yards away. Jesus.
He had another one where he called Deontay Foreman a run.
Freeman.
No, he said Freeman at one point, and then I was like, oh, that's a surprise pickup that I didn't know. But then he says it's Derrick Henry, and just normally they're like, oh, my bad, I didn't recognize this. He just rolled with it. That's just still Foreman. No big deal. I'm just a professional at this. Why would I have any standards?
They also gave credit to someone who made a tackle who was nowhere near the play when it went down. They just were celebrating with everybody, and because they were the most animated celebrating, they said they made the tackle. I was like, that's odd.
Was it Darren Bates?
One.
Was that who?
I think it was the Darren Bates, possibly. I'm not sure. Like he was.
I don't even think Darren Bates was on the field. I think he was like on the sidelines and came out to celebrate with the team.
Hold on. I need a moment for Darren Bates. Darren Bates is the epitome of a Titan. That man just appears. If you say tighten up 3 times in a mirror, Darren Bates appears in your house. That man, just any celebration, any big play, no matter what it is, it could be A.J. Brown catching that touchdown, and all of a sudden it's Darren Bates in the middle of the celebration. I don't think it was A.J. Brown jumping on the goalpost there. It was Darren Bates jumping on the goalpost. That man is around every single play, and kudos to him. That's a celebration of Darren Bates. His ability to be around the ball is spectacular. It's just never an actual play.
I would be making a huge mistake if I did not bring up Desmond King, who was able to scoop up and score on a fumble. Beautiful. Welcome to the Titans. Mike, overall, I know obviously we need to see an all 22, but how do you think Desmond King played today?
I mean, I thought he was pretty good. He gave up the one catch on the wheel route where it looked like he kind of stumbled chasing down I can't remember who it was, Anthony Miller, maybe.
Anthony Miller.
But I thought he played pretty well. I mean, he wasn't targeted very frequently, which is a good sign, and that's kind of his MO. I mean, he takes away what his coverage responsibility is. The scoop and score is nice. That was mostly a Jeffrey Simmons play, and King was in the right place at the right time. Was able to make the play and take it back for a touchdown. But I thought it was a good initial debut. I mean, I wouldn't have been totally shocked, honestly, if he'd come out and gotten really picked on, given the fact that he'd, arrived on a plane yesterday, or I guess he'd been in Nashville, but he'd been basically going through testing, COVID testing, and not in the facility until yesterday. So I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd come out and been picked on a little bit, but yeah, he wasn't. He made plays and generally was not a liability, which is way better than what the Titans have gotten out of any slot corner so far this year. So,
and here's the thing about the scoop and score. While yes, he did a good job going to get it of Simmons who caused it, but too many times you've seen the corners or the secondary players kind of playing back in case someone misses a tackle and not really firing upfield. So he just gave himself opportunities by being around plays and by just exerting effort. And so he doesn't wait for that play to break. He's all downhill every other time, like Joseph's standing back or everybody else is kind of back 5 yards back behind the line or, on the other side of the line waiting for it to happen. So there's other fumbles in that same situation the Titans haven't gotten. He was there to make that play because he's just playing reckless abandon because it was one of those things. I mean, all the calls, but I'm going to play balls out and I'm going to be near the ball and I'm going to see if I can affect things. And that's what he did. I was very happy to see that.
Me too.
And let me say that Desmond King, just from his general, vibe, just from stuff he's put out on Twitter, just from the stuff that we saw in the pregame, he seems like a guy that's very, very happy to be here. And let's go back and say, Desmond King apparently had some sort of beef with the Chargers coaching staff. That was part of the reason that he wasn't playing quite as much this year. So I think you're getting a guy that not only is motivated to go get a contract, but he's motivated by getting a fresh start. And he seems very excited. And I don't think that should be undersold. We know that he's got the talent. You don't make all pro by accident. He's got the talent. If he's motivated and coming in with a good attitude, which it very much seems like he is, I think the sky's the limit once you have Malcolm Butler, Dory Jackson, and Desmond King on the field. That's a really nice cornerback trio.
I'll just say, it seems like anytime the Titans have some sort of wild ass week of adversity, they come out and play well. So I kind of really want Vrabel to start treating this team like Navy SEAL Hell Week every week from now on. So the Titans will start playing like crazy. I'm talking about going into wherever they're sleeping, throwing flashbangs in the door. What do we got to do to get these guys up?
Yeah, that's how you end up with. That's how you end up with them just randomly shanking players in the locker room. It's a weird thing. That's how we had a punctured lung from a doctor, and so we've lost the starting quarterback. It's a real just adversity as a team, but they're going to overcome it.
A win's a win. All right, so let's start to wrap this up.
Kerrigan. Good Lord.
I'm going to go around the room and I'm going to make everyone say one thing positive about the team just to piss it off. And I'm going to start with Graver. Graver, give me something positive.
This defense is fixed, baby. All they had to do was get rid of Jonathan Joseph and add Desmond King. And once they get Clowney on the field, and Roberson was pretty good, I thought he pressured Foles quite a bit. I mean, I didn't notice him missing any like edge sets in the run game, or I thought he played pretty well. Let's get some more Roberson snaps. Beasley, bye-bye. Joseph, bye-bye. Defense fixed. That's all it took.
I like it. Bobby Green, give us something positive.
First place in the AFC South with a chance to go up 2 games on Thursday. And Perry needs to give Desmond King number 20. I don't know why he hasn't already, but he needs to, because it'll take King's defensive level to the next.
He scored with 33
up here.
on those.
So
yeah,
you can't give up 33.
He'll score 2 touchdowns with 20.
All right.
People were all pissed off about was it the punter wearing number 8? I don't give a shit. You're going to have to let that go. I'm sorry.
It was the best number 8 in a while.
Positive stuff. Ryan, please give me positive.
Get that comment off my screen, first of all. Anyway.
Just trashing the man.
Good Lord. Listen, my positive is that if the Titans were able to play out this week in a game when they were resting Derrick Henry clearly by not allowing him to get touches and saving him for the Colts game, able to play like this against defense and not allow the Bears to get going, I got to say that's a good attitude for this team moving forward, and proves that they're back maybe on that grit and grind a little bit and having that attitude. Because I was worried because if that went, this team was going to go downhill quick, and it's nice to see that it's back and they're able to respond to adversity again. So I'm excited moving forward.
Michael?
My positive is that one day, 20 years from now, we'll be arguing about whether A.J. Brown or Jeffrey Simmons was the best pick in the 2019 NFL draft for all teams, not just the Titans.
I like that one. They dug deep for that. That's a very solid positive poll. Oren, are you going to be positive?
I haven't been tested, but I will do my best. It's one of those, I will say that 6-2 is remarkably different from 5-3. The season is not going down the drain. You can still pull it out. But I will say, this is the coach in me coming out here. The takeaway from this game, this is the best tackling effort that they have had this entire season. Even though catches were allowed, Breon Borders, he's not great in coverage, but guess what? The man came up and tackled, and that's the difference. You do that in the Steelers game, you come out with a win. I have zero doubt about that. So absolutely, whatever you say about Des King, whatever you say about anybody else, they came up, they actually hit the defensive line, the linebackers. This was their best tackling effort overall. And in the end, you can say as advanced as you get, which, Sean McVay, we're 2020, we're doing all these crazy things. Just tackle the damn ball carrier. And if you can do that, you're going to be a good football team. Titans actually did that.
That 33 back to your heart.
At 6-2, the Titans only need 3 more wins to get to 9, and then they can just fuck off and take the 7th. We will be there, baby.
Who says we don't got bye weeks?
No, I says you don't got bye weeks. Backing into the playoffs. Oh, gosh. That's going to do it. We are out of bonus coverage on Fox. They have moved on. They don't want to talk about it anymore, so I'm not going to either. The Colts are in town on Thursday night for some delicious Thursday night football. Really hope we get to smack Phillip Rivers in the mouth, because I can't stand the way the guy bitches. He seems like a nice enough person. He has way too many children with the way he runs that fucking mouth. I just want to see him blown up all over the field. That is going to do it for us. We are BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Really appreciate you tuning in. Go check us out. Get a premium membership. You can read articles by Michael Herndon. You can listen to me on podcasts. The rest of these guys write things too. That's all I've got. So we're going to get out of it. I did that as a fucking slight to the rest of the men on here just to be a shithead. Thank you for tuning in. We are out.